Hello, everyone. And you'll notice that we haven't got Dan tonight. We have the lovely Lois. Dan's off skiving again. So Lois has stepped into the breach to help out this evening. So thank you, Lois, and welcome.
You're very
And
welcome.
we also have the wonderful Mr. Ian Varrow himself. Welcome, welcome, Ian.
What?
Thank you for thank
Hello.
you for thank you for agreeing to come on to our little show. We've been looking forward to this all week, actually, getting to be able to speak to you on here and finding out a bit more about your paranormal journey and what you've been doing and what you've done thus far. I want to say hello, a big shout out to a couple of people in the chat already. We got William Becker,
Hey,
all the
William.
way from Portland, Oregon. Hi, William.
Hello.
And we have Mr. Mould.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, Paul. So I met you in person at the Crime and Punishment weekend, and I found out that you're a very, very good friend of Brian J. Cano, or Cano, as he told me his name was. And it was there that I got to speaking and spending a bit of time with you and finding out about who you were, where you were from, and what you're about, basically. And it blew my socks off to find out about your very first paranormal encounter. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Ian?
Yeah, I was about age 5 or 6. Me and my mum had recently moved in with my stepdad, and the house he lived in was a big mansion that had been converted into flats. It was owned by the newspaper that he worked for. The first actual thing that happened was there was a dog appeared in my room. I thought it was our dog, but our dog never went upstairs for obvious reasons. But I went to stroke it, fell through it. But about a month later, I woke up in the middle of the night and thought, feels a bit weird in this room. Sat up, and there was a man stood at the end of the bed just staring at me. So automatic reaction was I shouted. My mum come flying out of her bedroom, and as she came round the corner, she saw him. He turned and looked at her and disappeared.
Wow.
Wow.
See, actually, physically,
Yeah,
it's
full
like
on.
an interacted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And at that time, did you know who he was?
No idea. No idea at all. But now we do.
What happened then with regards
Hey,
to
Terry.
that? Hi, Terry. What happened then regards to that then afterwards? I mean, how did you go about finding who he was, and how did that come about?
Well, I didn't find out who he was until probably a few years back, for definite anyway. But it was someone to do with the local area. The house was where the house is situated. Most of the land belonged to the house, so most of what is known as Hastings now
Yeah.
was the grounds of the house. Hastings itself back then used to be the old town, so it was
Right.
just a fishing village to the further down the road. But I had my suspicions because of going on investigations and this person making themselves known every time we went to a location. He was just
Really?
Wow.
made himself known at Sage Paracon, Michelin Priory, several other places. But I sort of researched into it and knew because he's a big name in the area around the world. But
Yeah.
he frequented the area and lived and died there. So I looked into it and thought, oh, it's a possibility. But I had it confirmed by a couple of mediums that I took round to my old house, and just standing outside, that she said there's a man up in that room, and one of them confirmed it was him.
Is there any links between you and him on a bloodline level or anything like that? Is there?
Not that I am aware of at all, but I know he frequented the house because the people who owned it are quite well known as well.
Right, okay.
So,
does it scare you that he keeps seeing him? Does it worry you at all?
I've not seen him since then, but he does make himself known. No, it doesn't bother me because he doesn't do anything, that would cause me any problem. So,
okay, cool. Can we name him? Are we allowed to name him?
You can name him if you like. Alistair Crowley.
Alistair Crowley. I knew you were going to say that. I sat there seeing while you were speaking. I was like, I'm putting my life on it. It's Alistair Crowley. That's
and have you been up to Scotland and done anything up there in where he used to
House
frequent at all?
No, I've only done around this area. I know exactly where he died, and although there's a lot of controversial over where it was, I've tracked it down. I know where it is. The building's now been pulled down, and they've built new houses on it, so that should be fun.
That would be really interesting to see if they got anything.
You'll be getting a lot. House calls.
I'll wait for the calls. Yeah, but a lot of places in the town he used to do rituals and that, and anytime we go anywhere there, he makes himself known.
Wow, I'm in awe of it. Like, I don't know how I would react if that was me. I think I would be scared. Hi, Jeff. There's a lot of people coming in to see you, Ian, and Mr. Bradfield. Hello, Mr. Bradfield.
Hello, Gary.
So, have you managed to sort of work with? When I say work with Mr. Crowley, I mean, does he speak to you, or does he say anything to you, or just showing himself to you?
He never speaks to me, but we're trying to. How can you say? We've got this little project going, and every time I try to get answers, there's a guy I'm in contact with who contacted me out of the blue years ago. He used to be a paramedic, but he retired, and he was a medium and had to switch it off while he was working for obvious reasons. But he contacted me out of the blue and said, "Do you know any teams up my way? Because now I want to do that side of things." So I put him in touch with some people, and then randomly he just contacted me out of the blue and said, "I don't know if this message is for you, but I've been told you've got to tell Ian this." And he said it wasn't to the fact there was a mention of a building that I looked up and found it was in Hastings, and I thought it's got to be you. But he gave me the answers to things I was looking for, and I've never mentioned it to him or anything. But that's how I get community. He'll suddenly just text me and say, "I've got this message for you."
We got to give a huge set. This is tradition here on our channel. When this lady comes in, we say a big hello and a whoop 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 to Chantel Rapeman. Whoop 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 whoop.
See, we've got Ian doing that. You could play dancing out of the woodwork. But do you know what? I've came across Alistair Crowley before. When I first started investigating with my first team, we investigated a hotel up in Peebles. And Peebles in Scotland is known as a witchcraft town.
Yep.
Because every hotel seems to have or castle seems to have some sort of activity. And when I was doing my research, right, when I first started out, before I started to learn other methods and things like that, I came across this thing. So just talking innocently to the guy that owned the team, and I said to him, I found out some information. And he says, "What information did you find out?" And I said, "Well, there's this guy, right, no knowing who Alistair Crowley was, I said, "Oh, this guy, Alistair Cowley, is meant to be connected to. It's a hotel called Barony Castle in Peebles. They think that he done some of his magic there as well. That's opened a portal." And he went, "Louise, have you any idea who Alistair Cowley is?" And I was like, "No." He says, "Go and read who he is." And I couldn't believe when I was reading about Alistair Cowley, I was like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, he done a lot of good stuff. I mean, he was involved with the Scientology when it started, and so he was involved with all that. But as they started changing the way it was going, he didn't like it, so left and formed his own Thelma, and then he was part of Golden Dawn. And
Didn't he start the Golden Dawn? Did he
I
not
think
start
he
that?
was one of the founder members. Yeah, he was one of the founder members of Scientology as well. But when they supposedly were communicating with aliens that were living here.
I'm one of these people where years and years ago I read some of his books, the Book of Thelema and the Book of Lies, and read a little bit about his gathering of people and what they used to do, and the stuff that went down up in Highgate Cemetery. And I made the assumption that this man, that especially the books, are like ravings of a madman. And I thought, reading what I read about him, I mean, other people adore him, and I can see why that they do. But for me personally, I think that man was very dangerous. I found him very dangerous, and he, as I was reading more about that man, that the brainwashing tactic that he used, and also the drugs that influenced a lot of his immediate followers and what they were doing, I just thought that this man was very, very dangerous, either very clever or very dangerous. And I tend to side to the dangerous side, because I felt that power that he had over these people, and I suppose people in cults today would be the same, but I thought that he could do a lot of damage to a lot of people very quickly if he so wished to.
Yeah. Well, apparently he cursed a doctor down here, and the doctor died within 3 days. So obviously he had some sort of idea what he was doing.
Yeah, I think he cursed a lot of people, didn't he? It wasn't just
he cursed
yeah.
the town. Yeah.
I think there was wasn't there? He had a big like a head-to-head battle with the Masons up in the West Midlands over property.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he did clash with the Golden Dawn eventually, which is why he left that as well. But and they refused to cremate him here as well. They sent him to Eastbourne.
He's very, I mean, love him or hate him, he is known throughout the world, this man.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Um,
I mean, he's on a few album covers, isn't he? So.
And then you look at Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page bought his home in Boleskine. In Boleskine House, I don't care what MD says, but there's something about that house, because the same circumstances as what Alistair Cowley had when it burned down, Jimmy Page had as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's something about Woodchester Mansion as well, because he used to go there as well.
Did he really?
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me, because they got a dark figure walking around the chapel area, haven't they? And that would be just like him to have summoned something there.
Wow.
Because where he lived and died here, he lived right between a monastery and a convent.
Really?
On a ley line.
That's like, put me in the middle deliberately just to see what I can I can do.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a son of a devoted Christian couple. So he was, he's some man. But when he started his spiritual path, it said that he had like a life-changing vision. And he actually changed his name, because Alistair's not his proper name. that was his middle name. Well, Alexander was his middle name, but his actual name was Edward. But he changed his name to Alistair.
I didn't know that.
I mean, I think he done a lot of good, a lot for spiritualism and all that. His quest for knowledge got to the point where he started looking somewhere else,
Mm.
and he went to Wales and teamed up with this guy, and that's where it all went dark.
Really?
And then he came back here. Thanks.
But you know what? It's one of these names where you mention his name, everybody knows who he is immediately. Everyone knows who he is. I mean, even my kids that are not into it know who his name. So he's certainly left his mark.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
It's like one of those things where love him or hate him, it's like almost picking up a book and saying that you don't like it, but you're that fascinated in reading it, you can't put the book down. Well, Alistair Cowley's a bit like that. It's a bit like people don't want to know but want to know at the same time.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am, because my book library would scare a lot of people, and it's just because I've been searching for information on him.
Yeah.
So I've been reading other people's books on him, and his son's books as well. Although Crowley followers will denounce that he's his son, but I've seen paperwork as he is. So,
do you understand the ciphers though? Because he writes a lot in cipher, which and it's just, you read it and you think, oh my God, what is this you're trying to say? But when you're actually reading it, you're not actually reading it word for word, because you know that in there is a code. He's actually writing a cipher, and you have to go out and try and work out what that cipher is. And I find that really annoying. These people that write in cipher, just say what you want to say.
Like a Zodiac killer and things like that,
because he was to do with Scientology in a minute, communicating with aliens, the secret cipher of the euphonauts is all based on the ciphers they use. So
I found that really frustrating about the Book of Lies, because the Book of Lies, I thought, oh, this would be interesting. What is he actually writing about? And it is poetry, but it's all cipher. It's all of it is cipher, and I mean, as much as I want to like this man and want to understand him, I find this man very frustrating.
Yeah,
very frustrating.
It's easier to read other people's books about him than trying to read his own. It gets very...
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
So we got some questions here in the chat. Gary has asked a question here, and he says, Ian, living in Hastings, have you ever investigated the battlefield at Battle, King Harold II, Last Stand?
No, we've never actually investigated the battle, but we've had a few poltergeist cases locally, and they've involved poltergeist from 1066. So basically, the whole of Hastings is a battlefield.
Wow. Yeah. And Annette said, going back to Alistair Crowley, he actually did a ritual on the spot where Area 51 now stands.
Yeah, I had heard that. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me at all.
That would account for a lot of the business that's going on around there, wouldn't it?
I did hear, I read something a while ago that he quite possibly is the reason for the Loch Ness Monster.
Really?
Yes, I didn't know that.
Because he stayed at Loch Ness and apparently he tried to conjure up 3 demons and it went wrong, and he cast one of them into the water.
Wow.
I'm interested in that one.
Could that be the answer?
That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe that guy that lives down, that gave up his life. He gave up his life, job, house, full shebang, to go and live on the loch so he can prove that Nessie exists. And he says until the day he dies, that's where he's going to stay to prove. That's a long time.
That is a long time. Especially living on a riverbank. Yeah.
Is there a certain place that you've ever wanted to investigate, Ian?
I'd love to do Waverley Hills Hotel. asylum.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Getting there, but Brian says there's trouble getting in there at the moment.
It's massive, isn't it, as well? And I think there's a dispute over who actually owns it now. So
you think they'd know, wouldn't you?
yeah, well, they were saying there's a couple that owns it, but now this company has got in, and the company owns it. But I think the laws out there are a little bit different to ours, and I don't know how that works. But Jamie Parker is in the house.
Whoop, boo.
Boo. Annette is saying that not Jamie, but Alistair Crowley was a total narcissist.
Oh yeah, he'd have been good. He'd have been good friends with Trump, that's for sure.
Spirited Encounters Paranormal with Dan. Hello,
Hi.
you lovelies. Hello, Dan.
Hey.
Hello, Dan.
And Yvonne said that Loch Ness Monster story is very interesting.
Yeah, I think it was in a documentary. I'm going to have to try and find it again because I sort of only caught half of it. And then they said about that, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I know.
One story of Nessie is similar, but it was a witch which many centuries old.
That sounds like Crowley.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. So not only is the Alistair Crowley connection there with you, but you also run your own team, don't you? So
I do, yeah.
can we talk about them and give them a big shout out?
Yep, you've got Brandon, our medium, and Tony, our cameraman, who at the moment is taking the leave of absence. But that's our main team. My brother's our researcher. And we do have other people in the background and a team I trained up in Lancashire.
Wow.
That we sometimes video link with. So
that's pretty cool, I think, isn't it?
So you're a busy man, Ian.
He is a busy man.
I am when we're doing it. Yeah, it's like to breathe.
Terry wants to know, Ian, is Huge Cave still open to the public near Hastings?
If he's talking about the smugglers' caves, yes, it is. And there's definitely something in there because we had a guy probably about 10 years ago now. He went to spend the night down there for charity, and he lasted an hour, and he's never spoke about what happened.
Really?
Oh my God. Really?
But I've tried to get in there. I've contacted the council. The council, health and safety reasons, won't allow you in there.
So if you wear a hard hat and have all the gear and your own insurance and you take it on, surely there's a way in. Surely they'd let you in.
Oh,
surely.
sure. Yeah, it's just getting the right person on the council, isn't it?
It's about a wee tip off, is in.
Yeah,
what's your favourite tipple? Oh, here's money.
Backhander.
Or you need to become a mason and get your foot in the back door that way.
Yeah, or join the council, you know.
Join the council, yeah.
I never actually thought of that.
It'll get you in everywhere, that will.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah. But yeah, if that's the cave he's talking about, there's tunnels under the seafront. He could be talking about that. The cave where Crowley used to do rituals is the back of the True Crime Museum, and also under the Princess Hotel.
Yeah. Well, if you get in, Terry says bloody red tape. He's going to have a go. But if you get in, you've got to take Ian with you. The deal, isn't it?
Oh, the one I want to go to is the White Rock Theatre, because originally on the site it was an infirmary, and they knocked the infirmary down but left the basement and then built the White Rock on top. So the basement is still the morgue and everything's still there.
Oh wow!
And
so the morgue is as it is, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. I'm trying to arrange doing a psychic fair there with one of the mediums I know, and I went down to have a look at the place, and he said, "Oh, is you a paranormal investigator?" He said, "Come here," and he took me down in the lift, opened the secret door, and we went into the morgue area, And
Oh,
as
wow.
we walked out, a door to the side slammed, and he went over to open it, and it was locked.
Ooh.
And then we walked up into one of the corners, and all I could smell was surgical alcohol. And I thought,
Yeah.
but it should still be. It's 150 years ago. Why am I smelling
Yeah.
it? So we walked back out, got back in the lift, and as the lift doors were shut, and you could hear someone walk across the floor.
Oh my
And I
God.
said, I definitely want to get down here with some cameras.
Was that in darkness? Was it dark down there?
Yeah, pitch black.
A proper sort of, excuse the pun, but proper shit your pants
Yeah,
moment
pitch
sort of
black.
thing.
Absolutely pitch black. I only had the light on my
Oh,
phone.
I think that would be amazing, honestly. And I know, when we talk about certain places to investigate, when it comes to some people have views on investigating in graveyards and things like that.
Yeah.
An old morgue, I would have loved to do, because I think that's where it would be activity as well.
And the funny thing was, when I took the medium down there to view the place, he said, "Blimey, it's really busy here." He said it's like a fight between the hospital staff, the nurses, and that, and the actors that have died here.
wow.
Oh my
It's
God.
like there's a conflict between the two of them.
Yeah.
And the guy who took me round, he was actually saying that down in the lower theatre part, there was him and the woman he works with one night. They were working late, and he went downstairs and he was playing the piano on the stage, and he could see this woman in the corner standing by the door, and he started playing, out of key, and that went da da, and he looked over, and it was a nurse, and he sort of froze on the spot and said, "What the hell?" And she walked out the door.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That just sounds amazing. Oh, I hope you get in there, Ian. I hope you get
Oh
to
yeah,
do it.
I really want to get in there. Yeah.
When you've done it, you've got to come back on the show and tell us all about what happened. And
Well,
Definitely.
event teams have been in there, but I don't think they've been in the morgue. So I need to get hold of the guy that showed me around and see if he can be there with his kid.
yeah, exactly.
He's your eyes outside watching round while you get and investigate.
So, Ian, have you ever been frightened by anything? Have you ever been in a situation in all the years that you've been doing this that's actually frightened you and made you think, "Oh, hang on a minute"?
Yeah, we dealt with a possession. I actually spent most of the time we were there thinking, "Am I going to get home tonight?"
Wow.
And it was a bit, because at the time it was funny because I was just starting to do a course with Kieran O'Keefe on exorcisms and possessions, and it was only about 3 weeks after I started it, and this happened, and I was thinking, what the hell? I'd spent a week pulling apart the original Exorcist case,
Right.
and basically put it down to she had mental health issues, and two mental health issues that were triggering each other. So
Right.
I just debunked a possession case, and then I got one in front of me, and I'm like, what the hell?
Is it
Can you
true what they say about holy water, Ian? Wait, is that like, I know how the films always say about holy water. I personally don't
we
think
didn't
holy
have any.
water would be the solution to the problem.
Well, yes, as far as the Catholic Church is concerned, yeah. I don't-
Just
Are you allowed to talk about that particular case? What happened and what can you
Well,
tell
as long
us?
as I don't mention names and what have you,
Okay.
I could talk about any of them. But yeah, I mean, I had a phone call. Her mother, the woman who was possessed, I'd done a case of her 3 or 4 years previous, and she was one of the poltergeists I was talking about from 1066. And then they moved, and her daughter phoned me up one night and said, "My mum's not my mum." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "It's not her." I went, "Okay." I said, "What have you done with her?" She said, "I've thrown her out in the garden barefoot." And I said, "That's not a bad thing, but we'll get to you as soon as we can," because we were both still at work. So I phoned Brandon up and said, "Can we get round there?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll finish at 9:30. We'll go straight round." I just pulled up outside, and the daughter came out and said, "Oh, she knows you're here." I said, actually, no, I'm not even parked in view of the house.
Yeah.
But she said not to let you two in, blah, blah, blah. I said, how she knows there's two of us coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she was talking with a male voice, almost practically. And it definitely wasn't her. It was, she was being abusive. She, a couple of times she was walking around the kitchen with a knife in her hand. And so I sort of thought, okay, Brandon sort of got control of the situation in the kitchen. So I went in the front room and I was doing all the protection things,
Yeah.
the Lord's Prayer and all the incantations you can think of. And she actually turned to him and said, "Will you stop doing what you're doing? You're weakening me." And he wasn't doing anything. He was in the front room. But it was funny because I spoke to him about it afterwards. He said that he was communicating with her in his head, but talking verbally to what would possessed her.
Yeah.
So he's having two conversations at the same time. And he kept telling her to come forward. And she said something that was typically female to say to a bloke. And he knew straight away. And the first thing she knew about it is when she woke up, he's got a pin to the back door. But he drew this thing out of her and overpowered it, and he ended up binding it. So unless someone's stupid enough to go there with a Ouija board, he's stuck there for good.
Do you know what it was?
We found out some of the things he was saying because he was making sick comments about children, and we found out that there was a child molester who lived in that house and had recently died in prison.
Wow. Yeah, I've been there and I've had one of those. Yeah.
But,
I mean, how can you really be respectful? We all talk about being respectful to spirit, but how can you be respectful to a spirit like that? Seriously.
well, it was hard.
I can imagine you're trying not. I mean, there's some things that you try and bite your tongue and you don't say, but when you're dealing with that, it would be really, really hard to know how.
Yeah, it was. As I said on a previous radio show, they said, "How was it?" I said there was a few touching cloth moments.
Yeah.
And
It's one of those as well. It's quite emotional, isn't it? As well afterwards when you find out what's going on. It's not just the exorcism. I should imagine it would be you afterwards that needs a bit of sort of, just give me some time. I need to.
I mean, luckily for us, it was more of a walk-in than a possession.
Right.
So it was a lot easier to deal with. But the whole thing was just draining. I mean, Brandon was out of action for about 3 weeks afterwards.
Bless him.
Oh my God. But that will take a lot of energy when you're doing something like that, and I don't think people realise how much energy that. I don't think it's just as simple as walking in a room, holding up your hand, start saying God's prayer, and then away it goes. It doesn't work like that.
And the problem with that is a lot of people that do that, they've got to be as pure as snow, haven't they? Really?
And 9 times out of 10, they're not.
So that's the issue, isn't it? But if you use other methods, then that doesn't really matter because they're not trying to dig at you for what you're using against them.
See, I'm quite fascinated by exorcisms. I I personally wouldn't carry out one, but I like the because it's the psychology behind it.
Yeah.
But I watched a film once called The Nun. Was it The Nun? I don't know what it was called. And it was about they had proper Vatican footage that they were showing in it. But they were showing an exorcism that went on. But you see this thing jump from one person to another person to another person. So being in the same room while an exorcism's being conducted, it can be like you could get it, like jump out of them and straight into you, and you wouldn't know what the hell's going on.
Well, that's pretty much like that The Devil Made Me Do It film, wasn't it? That case.
Yeah.
Same happened there,
Oh. So, like Ian, I'm going to ask you quickly. So you've attended many, many investigations, been all over the place. And we mentioned before we came on air about bringing things home or things following you home. What's the worst thing that's followed you home that you know about?
Oh, I had an attachment for a while. Luckily, I didn't know the wife then, but it was quite a nasty one. It was just changing my mood swings just like that. And
Oh my
anyone
God.
who knows me well will tell you I'm never miserable. And I was just down in the dumps, snapping people's heads off. And I actually contacted some spiritual healers, and they said, "Yeah, you've got this really nasty attachment. We'll have to get rid of him for you."
Oh wow.
But that's the worst thing I've ever thought. Oh, most of the stuff that follows me home, it's usually quite comical. Throwing things around in our bathroom, and across the hallway, stuff in the kitchen, jumping about.
What's the funniest one you've had, Ian?
Hey,
What's the funniest one you've had?
blimey.
Put them on the spot now.
Yeah, to me, they're all quite funny. I think that probably when we heard a noise in our dining room, and I got up to look in the corner to see what it was, and my stepson's scooter was leaning against the wall. And as my wife was looking over at me, it stood bolt upright, and then went back down and leant against the wall. And then she says to me, "Did you see that?" I said, "How can I?" Got back to it. But that was probably the
Oh,
funniest one because I never actually saw it. But
that's still enough to sort of get your attention, though. Like if the wife's
yeah,
seeing it, and
Mhm.
it's like that's actually did happen, sort of thing. And she wouldn't say it if it didn't, because I mean, she doesn't go on too many investigations with you, does she? Or does she come out with you a lot? Or
she does now and again. Depends if she fancies it. But she's been to Sage Paracon with me a couple of times.
yeah,
She did come on a couple of investigations in when we first met, and yeah, she if she hasn't been to the place and she's interested, she'll come. So
yeah, sounds like my other half.
but if she's done it
He's,
once, she won't go again.
yeah.
Whereas I'll keep going back. But there you go.
Do you keep all your do you keep like case files and things like that, even if it's
Yes, I
not
have a big
private house?
drive.
You do,
Wow.
A big hard drive that no one can get on except me. Yeah.
because I bet back in the day we used to keep our own case files. We used to have them on the computer. We'd have paper copies. We'd have a copy that we'd burn for the venue. We'd give it to them or the owners, that sort of thing. But I just wondered if you were like old school and did it kept your case files. If you went back again, you had something to sort of refer to and cross reference.
Yeah, I mean, I will go through all the audio and video, and I will write everything down, and I'll sit there doing it by hand, and then I will type it out. I'm a lunatic, but at least then I can refer back to it if I think, oh, hang on a minute, I remember that happening before,
Yeah,
and I can go see what the circumstances were. It does come in handy. I mean, although every case is potentially different, and usually the resolves are different, but if you can put yourself in the right direction.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What do
So
you
and
prefer?
it's
What do you prefer, Ian? Do you prefer the old school method, or do you prefer like your methods when you're investigating?
I mean, the thing with private cases, our intention is to get results, so we will use anything. But I do like
Oh,
old school. Yeah,
old school.
I do like old school. Yeah.
so Annette's put something in the chat. She says, sometimes I think I have an attachment. Every time I make plans to go and do anything, I get sick. So I go nowhere, and that's the truth. I've spoken to a friend about it, and it's not good. What are your suggestions for Annette then?
You need a spiritual healer. They're pretty good at getting rid of them. The guys I dealt with, I haven't seen for a few years, but I just give them my postcode. and they just zone in on me and job done. And they say, go and have a shower and envisage yourself being the water being golden and cleansing you out, and it going down the plug hole. And afterwards, I was fine. So, but
And
yeah,
message me privately afterwards. Just let me know what area you're in, and we might be able to point you in the right direction. And we might know someone that would be able to help you. Maybe.
Right.
I'm not promising anything, but just send us a message, and we'll try and sort of point you in the right direction, because we do know a few people, but it depends on where you are. If you would rather the the one-to-one sort of thing. I mean, not far from me.
sage, that'll pay it off and it'll go.
Yes, I
I
want to
heard
talk.
that one.
I want to talk to you about that.
Oh,
Did somebody say that? Was that Ian that said that in the chat when we were talking about the
Yeah.
sage?
yeah, I do
After,
that.
after an investigation, we came out, and Ian said, "Oh, we'll try this," because we were smoking roll-ups, and he's passed me this cigarette, and he said, "It's sage." I went, "What?" He said, "It's all right, it's safe." I said, "I won't get high on it, will I?" He said, No. It's sage, and it's just like eating sage. So, Ian, I want to know, where did all that come from, and what is all that about? Can you explain it for us, please?
That was me. I just came up with that. It made it easier to, when we were doing certain locations, maybe we were outside. It was easier to smoke a cigarette than standing there in the middle of the street, people driving past, and you're going. But rather than look like an idiot, I'll try this, and it was easier, and it seemed to have the same effect. So
it's very calming. I mean, afterwards, you can think I'm nutty here, but after doing that, like when we came out of the investigations and we had this sage cigarette, I felt quite calm. Like afterwards, normally I'm buzzing and I'm not ready to go to sleep and want to sit up and talk all night and all that sort of thing. But no, I did feel calm and quite chilled, and I can promise you it wasn't wacky backy or anything like that. It was purely sage and tobacco.
Do you
I'm
think
DBS checked because I work in the school, so I couldn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you think sage works? Because there's a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people I've heard love sage and they would use sage, and that's their thing. But there's other people I've heard. Well, two in particular that come to my head that do a podcast, and they are red rag to a bull with sage for some reason, and I've never ever understood why.
Yeah, the problem with sage is you need to deal with what's there. If you're doing with something minor, sage will get rid of them. But if there's something that's more intent on staying there, you need to remove it, or else sage is only going to annoy it. It might kick them out for, a few days, but they'll be back with a vengeance. And that's the problem. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, it doesn't work. Well, you have to deal with the problem first." So,
Yeah.
And then that just stops it coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sage just clear? Sort of, it's like you clear the table. Yeah, you clear the table of all the plates and things after dinner. So you're clearing the table, you're putting it that away and washing that up and putting it away. But the table needs to be cleaned afterwards. So you use your polish and you polish the table. So that's basically what sage is the polish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's making it all nice and fresh again. That's all sage will do.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a lot of truth behind sage, because you look at all the cultures that used it that never met each other.
Yeah.
Native Americans swore by it. In India they use it. It's all every incense burner you buy has got white sage in it.
Yeah.
Bonnie's got a question. Wouldn't it be better to use sage with a mixture of frankincense?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what frankincense.
So frankincense is expensive, though, isn't it? It depends on what level you're talking about using frankincense, I suppose.
Yeah, there are some very good combinations. Certain people use different things. I mean, I always use basic white sage.
Yeah, but we're talking about ingesting this, and actually smoking it. So I don't think smoking frankincense would be good for us.
No, probably. I don't know what it tastes like.
They'd rot your guts, I should imagine. They use that in church, don't they? And they swing it. They put it in that ball and then swing it as they walk along, and makes the church smell nice.
Yeah, and you think everyone breathes it in there anyway, so smoking it don't make no difference.
Oh no, not for
smoking. Oh, we could smoke some lavender.
Oh, lavender, yeah.
Ooh. Lavender's quite good for a lot of things, especially I used to use it in my boy to get him to sleep. I used to use Johnston's lavender, put half a bottle in, but it still works.
Yeah, there's very many good uses, lavender. My nan used to love it. And if she's around, I'll smell it. So
yeah,
that's how I know she's around.
Can you remember the bags of lavender that you used to get, the old-fashioned bags of lavender?
Yeah.
I can always remember my granny having it.
Oh, here we go. Native Americans used a mix of 4 grasses, including sage, so they could then fill the space with positive.
Yeah, exactly, which is why they never trusted anyone who wouldn't smoke the peace pipe. They considered you a negative if you didn't.
Isn't like the peace pipe, and isn't this controversial because they think that in the peace pipe there was a whole mix of weird and wonderful things, not only tobacco, but they would also put some kind of hallucinogen
probably
in there.
Yeah, the shaming Indians used to do the same thing, but they claim that's how they used to get through the Amazon without standing on tarantulas. I think I want to put my faith in something a bit stronger than that.
Yeah.
That's the same as what's on you go, Mrs.
I was going to say, Ian, if you could go, I know you want to go and do Waverley Hills, but if you can go anywhere in the UK, what's calling to you at the minute to go and investigate? If you could go anywhere,
Chester Mansion, that'd be the one. I've not actually got there yet.
I'm going in December. Do you want to come?
Do
you want to come? We'll talk. We'll talk.
Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, it's got to be in the school holidays.
I don't know if it is going to be in the school holidays, but we'll have a talk.
Okay.
What was you gonna ask him, Lois?
I can't even remember now.
I'll put you off.
It's all right. It'll come back to me. I'll just yell it out like Tourette's, so it's fine.
I'd love. Do you know, people say Tourette's is a curse, but I think it's brilliant. Tourette's. Say what you mean. Say what's in there. Just let it blurt out.
It would be. I should do that with Parker. Just go, wee wanker. What? Control yourself.
She loves him, really. She loves him, really.
I just give him stick. Lives
on the sage pipe. But no, I know. I love Woodchester Mansion. Yeah, it's a great place, is that? So, what sort of places have you done in the past that you can talk about? I'm not talking about your private cases. You know, the eventy type, the big places. Where have you been, and what have you seen there? What sort of things have you seen?
Michelin Priory. What did we have there? We had an 8-foot oak table, moved 2 foot across the floor and back.
Wow! Wow!
That was when a certain person made themselves known about half hour before.
Right.
We were at Warwick Castle.
Is Michelin Priory the one where they've got the masturbating monkey? No.
I have heard something like that. Yeah, so it could be.
People are going to think I'm crazy, but apparently there is a masturbating monkey.
Yeah, I have heard that. I can't remember if it was there or not, but I have heard it, and it sounded. I think I was there when I heard it actually. But yeah, it's like it's not far from here. It's about half an hour's drive from here.
Oh wow.
But yeah, they use it for wedding venues, which if they're using that table one night and that moves like it did with us, that'd be funny.
Or if they get the masturbating monkey in all their wedding photos, that would be funny. Can you imagine the bride and the groom going in for a nice kiss together and a photo bomb of a ghost doing what they do?
That
Yeah.
would be hilarious.
But the thing is it a monkey? That's the question.
That's true.
Mm.
That's true. So where else have you been?
Yeah,
What else
Warwick Castle, that was quite interesting. The security guard there was not happy to be locking up after we finished. We had all sorts going on there. Full-blown figure walking across the courtyard.
Yeah.
Wow.
The security guard and someone else followed them because they thought they were lost. And then they got to a dead end and they disappeared.
Oh.
We had a door in the chapel area open twice. The security guard came in and said, "You can't go in that room. We haven't been in there." So he walked in there, shut the door, came out, walked down the stairs, and as he got down the bottom, they radioed him again to say the door had opened again. And he knew we hadn't moved because just walked out the door.
Yeah.
We got a bear growl. We were in the bear pit, and I caught a bear growl on my camera, and a guy saying "help."
Oh my God.
Wow.
But what else do we have there? Oh, in the pit, the security guard again. They asked on the EVP if the spirits knew the security guard, and they said his name. So when we saw him the next morning, he was a bit sleepless and a bit
I can imagine.
not happy to be putting his name forward to do a lockup after another one.
Oh dear.
Was there anything you've ever experienced in that you couldn't explain? That was my question.
We've had one that has baffled us for ages, although the only answer we've got for it is maybe a portal. But we were at a house, one of our most active cases, and a thermal imager, I caught a door in the wall that was open. It was an
Holy shit.
industrial door with a plate of glass in it in the top, and a woman holding it open. But in the photo
Wow.
that the thermal imager took at the same time, there's no door.
Oh wow. That's just amazing.
That really is.
All I can think of that the property, it was obviously the property was there that was there before is still showing through, or it's a portal. But yeah,
That's just
I can't
that's
get
just
my
mind blowing. That's mind blowing. That is.
That is.
But
That would be quite hard to debunk, especially if you've got on a thermal camera and then you're looking the actual image as normal, and then when you're looking through the thermal camera and you're seeing that must have been like, holy shit, what is going on here?
the thing is, it was the girl's bedroom, and she had a metal bed frame with tinsel around it, and then you had the curtains, and you can see the tinsel in the picture in the thermal, and the curtains, and then there's this door in the wall that's open, and this woman's holding it open.
Oh god!
Wow, that would just blow me away if I saw that. You just,
I showed the client, and she goes, "Where's that?" And I said, "I think that's your daughter's room." And she went, "Well, hang on." And we were going up, we were trying to check it. Yeah, that is there. Couldn't work it out.
And I take it was just like a plain wall without the thermal camera.
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit! I would have actually, my jaw would have probably dropped at that one.
I'd be moving my daughter out of that room straight away and saying, "You're not sleeping in here."
Oh, yeah, we had a long night in that house. It was 35 ghosts in total.
Oh, wow.
Because I had the obelisk in my hand and the names were coming out, and I turned to Brandon and said, "There's something wrong with this." He goes, "No, there's not."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're coming up to nearly the hour. So, Ian, if people wanted to get in contact with you, what's the best way of them contact you, if they want to speak to you about issues or problems, or they just want to have a chat with you, could they do that? Could they ring you or speak to you?
Yeah, the best way is our website is www.residentialhaunting.co.uk. We've got a contact there.
Eventual haunting.
Eventual haunting. No, residential.
Oh, residential. Oh, hang on.
I think Viv needs residential care.
Residential
Help with that. That's what she works in.
residentialhaunting.co.uk, did you say?
Yep, that's us.
Hang on, I'm putting it in here.
You'll see someone you'll recognise in the middle of the picture.
So is this right? Hang on, I can get it to show. Oops.
What are you showing?
www.residentialhaunting.co.uk.
That's it.
Cool.
Or we're on Twitter at Team Res Haunt.
At Team Res Haunt. I'll put that in there as well. It's been absolutely fascinating, this chat, isn't it?
It is. I've actually really, really enjoyed myself. I'm just sat here quite content.
I'll take that as a compliment.
It is. When Dan's here, he just puts me off track.
Always good.
You know, when Dan's here, he gets you all flustered, doesn't he? And it's like you just chill and just have a chat and find things out and learn.
You sure he's looking for a card? He's not taking that job with Bigfoot.
Well, I have some news for everybody in the chat.
Ooh.
Next Wednesday at 8:00, we have the cast from Alaskan Killer Bigfoot joining us for a chat. So if you love all things big and hairy, next Wednesday on here.
Did you manage to get the Bigfoot as well?
No, it was the Alaskan Killer Bigfoot. I don't know who of the cast members are coming on. We have got cast members coming on, and we also have the historian and maybe the medium. But it's going to be fantastic. We are going to be talking about that case and what's been happening, about the deaths, I'm going to call them murders, about the murders, about what they experienced when they were out there and what actually happened in Portlock itself. So without giving too much away, if you haven't seen the programme, I fully recommend it. Watch it. You will get hooked. But yeah, they're going to be coming on to talk about it.
I'll be available next Wednesday because I've made myself off because it's the eve I start uni.
Okay.
So
and then this Friday there is no Frighteners. We are having the night off. Lois has given us the night off, but next Tuesday we are talking elementals on the Things Network. So the team will be back. The team will be back together and they'll be discussing elementals. And you know how the conversation goes with all the best will in the world. We start with elementals, but we end up talking about something else. So who knows what we'll end up talking about? But it should be fun anyway.
That will be.
Thank you, Ian, for coming on. I've really appreciated our chat, and time's just gone by really quick. So we are going to have to get you on again if that's all right.
That's fine with me.
That would be awesome. I've really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I have. I could ask you so much, you know. I just want to know. Just want to know. And I feel like I've known you for years, and I haven't. I've only just met you. So that's the good thing about it. And I think Lois will feel the same now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so we'll get you back on if we can. And all I've got to say is thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you for coming on and for all of your questions. We do appreciate you, and we hope to see you soon. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you again next week, hopefully.
Bye.
Hang on, I've got to end this broadcast, and it's all gone funny.
Bye.
Oh, it's not working.